This lesson is all about creating a content plan, specifically a content plan for your website. But as you see, there are lots of different uses for this content that we're going to create. We're going to be able to share that to our social media, in email newsletters, and along with our website. So one of the goals that we have is to create an article list. So this is a list of all the pages and articles that we want to create for our website. So we want to have pages that thoroughly describe every product or service that our business offers. We want to have pages that share customer testimonials about our business. We want to have stories on our site that really explain how we've helped particular customers, especially those customers that are really the best fit for our business, the ones that we want to attract more of that type of customer. So we want to have stories that explain how we solved a particular problem for them. We want to have helpful how-to articles or benefits for doing a certain thing on our business. So it might be how to know when to replace your hot water heater, or 5 benefits of adding a circuit if you are an electrical company. So every business has some things that you could do to kind of give your customers some how-to advice on something. And then lastly, there are these frequently asked questions. So every business has dozens of things that your customers ask you all the time. And we might start by building an FAQ page on our website that just lists each of these frequently asked questions and has a short answer for each of these things. But eventually we could build every one of those FAQs into its own page that's a thoughtful, well-structured article for our website. So as we think about creating content for our website, this is something that's going to take a lot of time. Every one of these pages could potentially take you 2, 3, 4 hours to create a really great web page for your site. But there's really 3 reasons that you are thinking of why you're going to get value for this effort. The first is you're going to be creating unique, quality, substantive content for your website. So that's going to pay off in the long run by adding this rich content to your site. The second, and really the foremost reason why you're doing this, is this creates helpful content for your customers. Remember, our growth track process is all about building trust with customers. So when we can be helpful and solve a problem for a customer, give them some information that they could use on our website, this is going to pay off for you in the long run. And then the third way that this effort pays off for you is that there are lots of ways you can maximize your return on investment for creating this content. The first is we're going to show you how to do some basic optimization of this information so that it is optimized for Google. You can think of this as your search engine optimization. And we're just going to do some basic things that are going to help Google understand what this page is all about and theme it in a certain way. The second thing you're going to be able to do with all this great content is you're going to be able to leverage that by sharing that in email news articles, on social media platforms. You can share out your own information instead of sharing third-party content. And you can use this in your sales effort. So when you have a customer that asks a particular question that is maybe a barrier for them to move forward with a sale, you could just send them a link to one of these helpful articles or FAQs to resolve their question and help move them forward towards a sale. So as we're thinking about the content that we want to build on our website, there are some quality factors that we want to consider. The first is our first priority is that we're trying to build trust with customers. So what we want to do is create meaningful content for our customers. What we are not trying to do here is to somehow trick Google into bringing people to our site. What we're trying to do is create really good quality information that is first and foremost helpful to our customers. So that's what we want to lead with. The second thing we want to do is we want to create detailed pages. So we want to have pages that are focused on our services, our products, our team, our frequently asked questions, articles. We want to create detailed pages for our website. The third thing is we want to create substantive pages. So these are pages that are 200 to 1,000 words in length. So they're very robust and rich in content. And these pages are formatted in a specific way that's going to make them more readable and easier for a reader to digest. The fourth thing that we're going to do is we're going to theme every one of these pages around a particular term or search phrase. So if you haven't yet taken our lesson on creating your top keyword list for your business, then we're going to have you make sure you're going to have to do that before you proceed too far in creating a content plan. because the main pages that you're going to create your content and how you're going to theme them are going to really be around those top keywords that we've helped you build for your business. So then the last thing that we're going to keep in mind when it comes to our quality factors is with regard to these specific keywords that we're trying to theme these different articles around. And what we're trying to do is focus on what we would call your most winnable words. So as you have maybe 20 or 30 keyword themes that you're trying to build around your website, we really just need to focus on what are the low-hanging fruit for that. So we'll get more to that later. In addition to the quality factors for our pages that we're creating on our site, there are some important technical factors that we need to keep in mind that are going to play a big part in how search engines read and understand what this page is all about, and how it will either help us to build trust with customers or could potentially erode trust that we might have with potential customers. So the first important technical factor that we want to keep in mind are the links. So there's really two kinds of links. We have these internal links that are going to this page on our website, and then there are links on this page that are going to other places. So links that are coming to this page or coming to your site, those are called backlinks to your site. What's important is the text that is used for those links. We call that the anchor text. That is very important in helping Google and the user, the reader, to understand what that page is about. So the more that you can get these backlinks, get these anchor texts to use those words that you're targeting to theme for a particular page, the better. The second important technical factor is the speed and responsiveness of the page itself and of your site as a whole. So Google has some free tools that you can use to test out the performance and speed of a page. But this is really important because more than half of the people that view one of your pages are likely going to do this from a mobile device. So Google will penalize this page if it is slow and takes a long time to load. And on the opposite side, it will give you better treatment if it's a fast and optimized page. It goes without saying, but we do have to say it, that it's an important technical factor that your site is error and malware free. So if there are errors that are taking place on this site, there's obvious errors like broken image links, other textual errors, but there's also some code errors that could be taking place on your site. And Google Chrome has a debug tool you can use to explore those in a deeper way. We also want to make sure that your site has SSL. This is a little lock that appears in the top corner of your browser address bar. It tells people that your page, your site is encrypted and uses an SSL certificate. What this does is it encrypts the traffic between the user's browser and the web server itself. It only provides a very basic amount of security for your site. But the reason why this is important is a year or two ago, Google started to highlight in red any forms that are on pages that don't use SSL. So it could alert a user that there are maybe some security problems with your site if you aren't using SSL. And it's super simple to do and is usually free. So there's no reason not to do it. The next important technical factor are what we call these tags or structure to the content itself on your site. So there are some things that you can do when you're building a page to help Google understand what are the most important pieces of information on this page. And usually the most important pieces of information on this page include those phrases that you're trying to theme this web page around. So there are tags called H1 and H2, other kinds of tags that help Google know if this is a heading, and some of those headings it uses to know that those are some of the more important technical pieces of that page. The structure of how the site is organized itself is an important technical factor. So we want to have things structured in a way that's readable for the user. So instead of just having paragraph after paragraph of text information, we want to break that up with different kinds of content. We might want to have some bulleted lists, some numbered lists, things like that to kind of break up the page and make it more readable for the user. And the last important technical factor that we'll touch on a little bit more further in this presentation is some of the metadata. So the metadata is information that you can't necessarily see on the page, but it can be helpful for Google to better understand what this page is all about. So we'll touch on some of that meta information and how you can better control what that meta information is on the site. So this simple diagram really helps to explain the anatomy of a page. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to theme a page around a topic and use these meaningful key search phrases that we're trying to target for our website. That's what we're trying to theme the page around. And there's a free tool that we can add to our site, especially if it's in WordPress, called Yoast. That's kind of like our training wheels for SEO. So with the free version, we can do just a few basic things and it'll help coach us along to make sure we're at least covering some of the major bases. So as we're thinking about the anatomy of a page, you just kind of think back to grade school when you learn how to write a paragraph or how to write a paper. And they kind of told you to think of like the hamburger style, where you kind of tell people what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. So that same type of structure works pretty good for a basic web page. So we're going to use key visuals to reinforce the ideas. So these are like the images or graphs or charts that you might add to this page. We want to organize the page into subheadings for quick visuals. So there's a couple reasons why we're going to organize the page into these subheadings. And we have them noted here on this anatomy of a page showing these H1 and H2 tags. So the first thing that this does is it's going to apply a different style to that text. So usually the H1 and H2s have like a larger, bolder text format that's going to really stand out to your reader. So this is super helpful so they can scan down through the page, look at those subheadings, and then they'd only have to read the section that's most interesting and appropriate for them. So that's really helpful to the reader. The other thing this does is in the same way that it helps a reader, it helps Google to know when your content is structured with these tags, it helps them to know what some of the most important things are on this page and what this page is about. So we would definitely incorporate these focus keywords. The main keyword theme would be in some way kind of worked into these different headings for our site. We might also need to think of some different layout options, some different styles to not just give our page some sizzle, but to really make it more digestible and easier for the reader to find what they're looking for on this page. So typically your web page builder is going to have things like tabs or an accordion or just some other kind of layout options for you to structure some information on this page instead of having it in just like a simple table. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about here that we want to think about with the anatomy of our page are the links on this page. So typically you're going to want to have a link or two within the content itself. These will be links that you're going to make manually, and you'll be very careful about the text that you select and what page you're going to link that to. You're really usually linking these to other pages within your site, not trying to take people away from your site. And then there's links on this page that are going to be more automated links. So if we are creating a blog or an article section, we typically will have a sidebar on the right-hand side that will have links to other articles that are related to this in this category, maybe some other recent and new articles that we've created. So those will all be created automatically for us in most web building platforms like WordPress. So one of the things that we can work into our page is a meta field called the meta description. So if we have Yoast on our website or another plugin that will help us with some of our SEO, there's going to be a feature to include a custom meta description. So in this example for Death Wish Coffee, the area, they start out with the title, which is in blue in this example. Then there's the URL, which is in green. And then just below that is their meta description that says Death Wish Coffee Company is the top online, coffee, and you can read the rest. So that's the meta description. So here's what this does for us. This is what shows up when your page comes up in an organic result on Google. So Google will either use your meta description that you embed and you custom write for your page, or it will try and automatically create a meta description for your page. So if you are just don't have custom meta descriptions, then you're just kind of leaving it to chance that Google's going to grab the most important information about that page and put it into the search result. And that's not what we want to do. We want to just take a little extra time and write a custom meta description. And the reason why we're trying to do this is you could think of this as like an ad that is going to help entice people to click on the link to your site and come to your site. So when you custom write the meta description, you're going to have more control over what is being presented than if you just allow Google to auto-generate the meta description. So some things we're trying to do here is we're not trying to stuff keywords into this meta description. We're really just trying to make this a meaningful, short description for this page. So when someone clicks on this link, the information that they're going to find on that page should really be appropriate and be relevant to what that they thought they were going to click on. So what this does by writing a custom crafted meta description, we're hoping to increase the click-through rate when your page shows up in a Google search result. So if you search for Death Wish Coffee and you see their site and you read this custom meta description, you're going to be hopefully more inclined to better understand what this company is all about and come and visit their site than if it just grabbed whatever text Google thought was appropriate for your description. So it's essentially like your ad copy, and this really gives you a chance to say what you offer and why buy from you. So this is what we call your unique value proposition. So in this case, it's kind of geared and targeted towards a specific page, but you'll take extra care for how you're going to use that on the homepage of your website. So this is really the place to communicate what you offer and why buy from you. And then you're kind of putting that within the context of this specific page. The other thing to point out is that most social media platforms actually use this meta description when you're sharing this page out as a post. So if you're trying to share this page on the Facebook, that meta description is going to kind of be pulled by default for how Facebook displays what that page is all about. So it's super important to have a well-written meta description, because this essentially is, again, becoming sort of like an ad or the text that someone would read that would entice them to click on that link and come to your site. So one of the free tools that we would suggest everybody puts on their WordPress website is Yoast. So there are paid and free versions of Yoast. You can definitely just get started with the free version. And this is really like the training wheels for your search engine optimization. So there's a few reasons why we like to use this for our sites. The first is there's a field where you can enter what they call your focus keyword phrase or your focus key phrase. So this is really the main, keyword term that you're trying to theme this web page around. And what Yoast will do for you is kind of give you some training wheels. It'll kind of point out to you maybe some areas where you didn't include the keyword phrase, where you should include the keyword phrase. It might suggest that you make this page a little longer if it's a little light on text. So it's kind of like your training wheels for SEO. But it also gives you a tool to be able to custom write your meta description. So there's a place where you can configure your meta description and write a custom snippet that's going to be used for your meta description. And you can do that for every page on your site when you install this plugin. So Yoast is, like I said, is really just like the training wheels for your SEO. So once you enter the target keyword phrase or your focus keyword phrase, it's going to point out a few different problems, a few things where you could do a little bit better to make sure and kind of encourage you along the line of including those phrases in these key areas. Once you start doing this and you build, a handful of pages, you'll start to this will become the norm for you. You'll just know that you need to write substantive, quality pages and use the keyword phrase in sort of a natural way throughout the page. So the next steps that you should be thinking about is, first, if you have not yet developed your targeted keyword list, then we're going to encourage you to go back and take that lesson on communicating to your customers and how to develop your targeted keyword list. And if you need some help with that, Cultivate can provide you some assistance. Second thing you need to do is there's 2 plugins that we highly recommend that you install on your website. Obviously, this is for those that have a WordPress website. So first is Yoast, the SEO plugin that we talked about. It's going to help give you some training wheels. The second is a plugin from Google called SiteKit. So SiteKit is Google's own WordPress plugin that's going to help you connect several of their free tools directly into your website. But there's a process you'll have to follow to verify them. So the first thing you're going to have to do is set up some of these tools that Google has. Specifically, Search Console and Analytics would be the 2 main ones. And then use Google Sitekit and their verification process to get that connected to your site. That's going to allow Google to start logging some of the information for your site, both in how it appears in Google and what happens once people visit your site. So that's super important, so you can begin some tracking of all this information. The next thing is start making a list of all the pages and articles that would be good to create based on your keyword search phrase list. So again, these are wanting to have pages for all of your products and services. So if you don't have those right now, we would encourage you to list those out in your content plan, and then start thinking about all the frequently asked questions. So the FAQ page would be the very first page you would build that lists a short listing of that frequently asked question and the short answer for it. But then also consider prioritizing which of these would be excellent articles that you could specifically use to theme around one of your top keyword search phrases that you're trying to target. So you can make a really good page about those things. So you put all of these things together into a schedule, and then you have to hold yourself to it. So literally, I would make a plan that is month by month and start thinking about, in whatever next month is, maybe you could write 1 article a week, maybe you can write 2 articles a month, whatever that schedule is that you think you can stick to. We would encourage you to do it. So you would just go ahead and just note what your goal is and what the name of the article is that you're trying to write and launch for your site. And then think about other ways that you could reuse that as part of your content plan. So maybe you could share that out to your social media sites. Maybe you could include that in an email newsletter. So lots of different ways you could leverage that content once you've put that effort into creating it.